if all we get tonight is that Donald Trump paid $38 million to America's government, that's a good night for Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. There's just really no way. Like, I was hoping and praying that it would show not only did he pay no taxes, he actually charged the government and got money back. I wanted something I could get excited
And
about.
what you wanted is that he was paid in rubles.
Exactly.
That's what you were hoping for.
So CNN decided that they were going to go and and mock Rachel Maddow right after she had that big nothing burger of a show where she did, in fact, help Donald Trump. Were you surprised at that reaction from CNN?
Well, there is the natural competitive pressures. I think that was just an absolute outbreak of honesty. They were excited at the idea that somebody had the goods. And they were going to be blunt that she didn't have the goods when it came down to it. And when you build it up the way that they did on Twitter, and then this is what you present. It was amusing to me that Maddow would try to tell the Associated Press that, well, it's the audience's fault if they build too much into this. Read the tweets.
Yeah, read the tweets is right.
Come on, they had a countdown clock, okay?
It was she went on, I think, the show prior, and plus her tweets, and she talked for 20 minutes before she actually showed the tax returns, which were absolutely nothing. Now, we've established that we understand that. Now, the networks, the next morning, ABC, CBS, NBC on March 15th spent 20 minutes and 28 seconds. That's courtesy of you guys at the Media Research Center. ABC, 9 minutes, 18 seconds. CBS, 5 minutes, 36 seconds. NBC, 5 minutes, 34 seconds. And we should point out, that is quite a significant amount of time for the networks to spend on one story in one morning.
Absolutely correct. It is, that's a significant chunk of time. Normally, an average news story can be anywhere from a 30-second brief to often those reported pieces we're all used to are usually about 2 minutes long. So if you gave it 5 minutes, you probably did 2 stories, or you did a big interview segment. You brought on your pundit. I believe George Stephanopoulos brought on David K. Johnston, the lunatic who used to write for the New York Times. So he could try to say that Trump is in hock to the Chinese and the Russians.
Well, yesterday, I didn't watch it, but from what I read, Rachel Maddow came up with something she couldn't come up with and didn't come up with on the show that she showed the tax returns. But I guess with 24 hours of her and her lunatic contacts and writers and people who she deals with, she came up with, well, this had to be a perfect, pristine tax return because Melania Trump was coming into the country and she had to take the tax return to immigration, and it doesn't show the connections to this and to that and to that. I mean, she didn't say all that when she showed the tax return, but given enough time, the conspiracy theories fly.
It is somewhat like the way that Dan Rather did the news in the 24 or 48 hours afterward, trying to come to their own defense, trying to basically suggest to other media that, no, this is a real story. We have, though, been faced with Stephen Colbert doing a skit mocking Maddow. So that, on some level, would tell you when the left is mocking Maddow, it's a real problem.
Yep, absolutely. All right, now you had a great piece at Newsbusters, which I found very, very troubling. At Washington Post, there was vandalism at a golf course, a Donald Trump golf course, and their headline and their writing about it at the Washington Post was despicable. First of all, we have some B-roll. If we could put this up, Matt, one of our great editors, found this B-roll of them actually tearing up the golf course. And but let's put up, if we can, 147, and I want you to see, folks, what the Washington Post wrote. A group of environmental activists pulled off a daring act of defiance at one of President Trump's premier golf courses early Sunday morning. A daring act of defiance, and here's that daring act of defiance. You're going to see right here. They're actually going to dig up the golf course. All right, now let's put up 148 because they changed it, Editor's note, the beginning of this story was changed to more accurately reflect the nature of the actions taken by a protest group against the Trump golf course in Rancho Palos Verdes, California. A group of environmental activists pulled off an elaborate act of vandalism at one point of President Trump's premier golf course early Sunday morning. So they changed it, but when they put their editor's note in there, Tim, as you guys pointed out, they never said what they originally said, calling it a daring act of valor, whatever the heck they said.
This is when you know editorializing is taking place, that it's an act of defiance. If we went down to the Washington Post and spray painted "you lefty wackos" on the elevator or something, I don't think they would call it a daring act of defiance. They would define it the way that the law defines it: property destruction or vandalism. If you wanted to editorialize in the other degree, you might call it hooliganism. This is the way that the Washington Post and other liberal media outlets look at protesters. They can burn down the CVS, and they're valiant defiers. They don't use terms like property destroyers. They don't like to use the word riot. And this was just another example of that. And especially, again, when you're destroying a golf course owned by Donald Trump, that's one thing. If you were destroying an act of some property owned by a liberal, it would be something else entirely. If we went, well, let's say we vandalized the new Obama house in the District of Columbia.
Right. Yep, great example.
I don't think it would be defiance.
And, of course, the Snoop Dogg video with the bang, the gun, shooting Trump, and then Bow Wow, who's close to Snoop Dogg, tweets this out. We're running out of time, but let's put that up. Hey, yo, Donald Trump, shut your punk A up talking S about my uncle before we pimp your wife and make her work for us. Where's the left's outrage? 30 seconds, Tim.
We could spend all day saying, if they did this to Obama, what? We can all imagine if Toby Keith said we were going to pimp out Michelle, how big a deal that would be.
Well, what's his name from then MSNBC say Hillary was pimping out Chelsea, and didn't he lose his job? David Schuster?
David Schuster,
yeah.
Yes. But Al Jazeera.
Yes, now he's with something else. Anyway, Tim, thank you very much.